Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Hensing. Katerina's away tonight. Here's what's making news right now.
Oh, we definitely love this weather. Considering this is his first time, I'm pretty proud of him. He's doing a great job.
It would be nice if we could find within those parameters an additional protection that's been afforded everyone, the ability to relax some of those rules.
We finally gained our independence in 1991, and now we're fighting for it again in the 21st century.
We begin with a look at the pressure COVID-19 has placed on healthcare workers, people pushed to the brink. Tonight, Jason Vio looks at those pulling themselves out of those stress zones and making their mental health a priority.
Dangling from the ceiling 20 feet in the air is a way Chantal Khoury clears her mind. She's an anesthesia assistant at Windsor Regional Hospital and says work can sometimes be morbid and sad, especially during COVID, where she mostly works in the operating room. Khoury says this extreme hobby started at the beginning of the pandemic as a way to cope with the stress.
Being involved in dual trapeze gives me something to look forward to, something to be creative with. And once I'm there, sort of like everything leaves my mind. I'm completely focused on what I'm doing, which is therapeutic mentally. And in reality, in turn, it helps me also critically think at work because I get to relieve all that stress.
It's the stress healthcare workers face every day working on the front lines during COVID, something Louise Raymond found overwhelming during the middle of the pandemic.
I was just taking it home with me, very emotional, kind of short-fused with my loved ones at home. I had to have that moment where I just cried. I had to. And I had to take those 10 minutes to feel sorry for myself and acknowledge, that what was happening. I kept thinking, someone else has it worse than me.
Once she allowed herself to feel her emotions, she says things got better. She also found joy in going boating or riding her motorcycle in nice weather, little things that had a big impact on her mental health. And it also took her mind off of work.
I have to learn to not allow it to consume me. I'm not going to lie when I say I look forward to the end of the day.
For Dr. Roseanne Ng, the end of the day looks the same almost every day. That's because she's been working 7 days a week during much of the pandemic. She's been a family physician for 31 years. Monday through Friday, she tends to her patients. On the weekends, she administers vaccines.
It's a responsibility I have. I became a doctor for a reason. At least at the end of the day, I can say, you know what? I helped. I made a difference. I helped somebody, some people, helped us through this pandemic.
But she has to make it through this pandemic and says it certainly put a lot more pressure on her shoulders. It's a lot busier, too.
I'm human like everybody else. I do have my meltdowns, but I also make sure biggest thing is I make sure I keep a routine schedule every day.
That includes tennis or a run before work, even in frigid temperatures.
It's really therapeutic to, hit that ball.
Do you think this pandemic has burnt you
out? Not yet.
Jason Vio, CBC News, Windsor.
Adding to that pressure, 3 of every 5 long-term care homes in the province are experiencing outbreaks of the Omicron COVID variant. Here in Windsor, Essex, it's worse. Homes in outbreak at a slightly higher rate. Dale Molnar has been checking in with these homes, those on the front lines. He joins us now live. Dale, we just heard about the stress of this pandemic. What effect are the outbreaks having for staff and residents in these homes?
Well, Chris, the outbreaks of Omicron aren't as deadly as the outbreaks of COVID-19 before the vaccine. In fact, right now at Windsor Regional Hospital, only 5 residents from long-term care homes have been admitted to hospital with Omicron, and none are in the ICU. People are telling me now the protocols that have to go in place are doing more harm than good. Heron Terrace Nursing Home in Windsor has an outbreak among 3 residents and 12 staff. The CEO of the company that owns it says outbreaks of Omicron aren't resulting in the deaths COVID-19 did before residents were vaccinated. He says it's now the outbreak protocols that are taking the heaviest tolls on the residents. Many have to isolate in their rooms so they don't get physical and mental stimulation, they don't see other residents, and they don't get baths.
Certainly it's hard on staff that are experiencing COVID themselves, their families, close contacts. It does add that level of stress, and it certainly creates issues with staffing and bringing in additional staff working overtime, bringing in agency to cover shifts. But our residents, when they do end up in isolation, it's been like a roller coaster.
The head of an organization that organizes peer support groups in nursing homes says they have written the Ministry of Long-Term Care to see if the government can strike a better balance between safety and flexibility.
Exploring tweaking how outbreaks are handled so that folks within a neighborhood or a unit, if all residents test negative, that they have some more freedom and flexibility. For those folks who can make a decision or be helped to make a decision about things such as, leaving the long-term care home and going to Tim Hortons to grab a cup of coffee. They should be able to do that.
Scotland agrees.
Residents typically have 3 doses and are receiving 4th where they're eligible. It would be nice if we could find within those parameters and additional protection that's been afforded everyone, the ability to relax some of those rules.
Cardinal Place Retirement Home has not had an outbreak. The owner credits teamwork with everyone cooperating to make sure the disease doesn't come into the home.
Whether that be paying for our own PSWs to come in and do the government's work, providing all of the right gear that we can, keeping the space, making sure people are healthy at the door with a screening and rapid tests, doing all the right thing. But most importantly, it's been everybody's mindset, from staff to the members, the elders living here and their families, all taken the number one priority is protecting our elders.
Now, Mike Cardinal there is concerned that HEPA filters the province promised a month ago haven't arrived. In the meantime, they are making sure that there's lots of fresh air being pumped into the building. They're keeping people spaced and wearing masks. Chris?
Thanks, Dale. CBC's Dale Molnar live tonight. A convoy of trucks continued to slow traffic in Windsor today. Trucks at a crawl along Huron Church. A traffic backup appears to be part of that continuation, that national truck convoy that passed through Windsor yesterday. Drivers protesting the COVID-19 vaccine mandate for truck drivers who cross the Canada-United States border. That took effect January 15th. This has been dubbed the Freedom Rally, and its drivers are continuing on to Ottawa. Canadian truck drivers now need to be fully vaccinated if they want to avoid a 2-week quarantine and pre-arrival molecular test for COVID-19 before crossing into Canada. Windsor residents with strong ties to Ukraine are watching with concern as tensions continue to rise back home. Russia's gathered an estimated 100,000 troops near Ukraine's border, and it's stoking fears of a potential invasion. Locally, community members are reaching out to family living in one of the presently occupied regions of Ukraine, but many say when they call family back home, they're only being left with more questions than answers.
I've heard about one family member here who tried to get a hold of a family member back in Ukraine who was closer to the border of Donetsk or Luhansk, one of the regions that is presently occupied. And first they couldn't get through. And then when they did get through, they had somebody speaking in Russian on the other line. And in their family, there was nobody who would be speaking Russian. So there's a concern as to what has happened to that family member. And they haven't been able, to my knowledge as yet, to find out what has occurred.
Tensions continued to soar today between Russia and the West, with NATO outlining a series of potential troop and ship deployments. Meanwhile, the standoff at the Ukrainian border continues, Russia denying that it's planning an invasion at home in Windsor. The Ukrainian community celebrated Ukrainian Unity Day on Saturday, taking the opportunity to fundraise and raise awareness.
We're in close contact with the Ukrainian Canadian Congress and the Ukrainian National Federation. There have been fundraisers. There has been a great deal of outpouring of aid and good wishes are for the Ukrainian people.
Now, in response to the Ukrainian-Russian conflict, Canada has offered Ukraine a $120 million loan. Now, Justin Trudeau says he's also considering sending a shipment of small arms, which will help equip a new branch of the Ukrainian military. Now, you heard about Donetsk. It's in eastern Ukraine. It's been the scene of fighting between Russian-backed separatists and Ukrainian forces for nearly a decade, and CBC News has been granted special access to that region. Our Moscow correspondent Briar Stewart gives us a rare look inside the part of Donetsk that's controlled by the separatist forces.
I'm on the outskirts of Donetsk, and this is where Russian-backed separatists have been fighting against Ukraine since 2014. And everywhere you look on the street, you can see the evidence of a war that keeps grinding on. You have so many houses like this one that are just destroyed from repeated shelling over the years. This one, as you can see, has a large hole blown in it. You can see part of a couch there that was probably a living room at some point. Some houses have some repairs done to them. In fact, we talked to one man who keeps trying to repair his home after shelling, and he hopes one day that he can move back. But really, this is a neighborhood that is almost deserted. It's near the airport, which was a key part of the initial stages of the war between Ukraine and the people fighting here. It is still completely destroyed, and it wasn't a safe area for us to be in because there could be unexploded shells and things like that. Now, I must mention that it's very rare for foreign crews to get access to this area, but we requested to come to Donetsk to tell the story of the people who are living here, because this is a very key time. I mean, we keep hearing about the Russian troop buildup near Ukraine's border, and people here have been living with war for 8 years. And so we came here to report because we really wanted to get a sense of how they've been living with the constant conflict and what they think about the days ahead. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Donetsk.
We take a look now at how the pandemic is playing out at hospitals here in Windsor, Essex. Right now, there are 127 people in hospital with a confirmed case of COVID-19, 16 in the ICU. This morning, the health unit said that a man in his 80s died with COVID-19. They were living in a long-term care or retirement home. And the Windsor-Essex County Health Unit also announced changes to the way that they report the latest information about the spread of the virus. The website will update at noon, and they will no longer say what community positive cases are in, how old they are, or what the reproduction number is locally for the virus. These changes coming after the previous limiting of PCR tests by the province to allow only high-risk individuals to get tested. Some breaking news now coming in. Essex has a new mayor. Council is meeting tonight to decide what to do after Mayor Larry Snively resigned, doing so after pleading guilty to election fraud. Essex Council voted against holding a by-election, deciding instead to move Deputy Mayor Richard Meloche into the mayoral chair. Councillor Sherry Bondi was the only person to vote against both motions. A municipal election will take place in the fall. There's some messy weather out there today, and it's starting with storms overnight. Take a look at this collision here. A truck inside of a home out in Lakeshore. It happened on County Road 46. The owner of the home saying that he was inside with his son when it happened early this morning. The son popping outside moments before the truck came smashing through the wall. You can see the destruction there. A cat died on impact. The person driving the truck not injured. No one else was injured either. But the person who was driving has been charged with careless driving. A Windsor kindergarten teacher hatched a plan to keep her real-life lessons on birthing and development of newborn ducks alive, even when learning was remote. Joanne Pizzuto hatched 3 baby ducks on video at her house last May, but she knew virtual learning fell short from doing this project in person. So she literally went the extra mile to bring the hatching lesson to life for her young students, driving to each of their homes, ducklings in tow, so they can see that progress in person. Now fully grown, the ducks live on a farm near Kingsville. That's where we caught up with them.
For me, the biggest was bringing joy to the children. So having them look forward to something. I mean, the visits, when we would pull up to one of the their homes and they would see us, you could see it was an entire family that would come out. So it was brothers and sisters. Sometimes it was even the neighbors who would come over to check out the ducks.
They were kind of shy. Like they kept running away in the tub. And when I was holding them, I kind of felt like they were nervous.
It teaches them to be respectful of the animals that live on this earth, but I think that part of it is it shows them how to take care of them. And they really love it when they are able to see them and be a part of that entire process.
Almost out. There we go.
I just cool watching them hatch. And it was cool seeing them in the incubator.
What do you think that your teacher did all the extra work to be able to bring the ducks by?
I thought it was kind.
Yeah, for sure. put in all that extra work to come and make sure that the kids were not only seeing it on the screen, but to make sure that they saw it in real time was really important. And I think it will make a lasting impression as far as their want to learn about that continuously and to learn about nature, really. Yeah.
And more than welcome to bring those by the office as well here. A lovely look at what a teacher is willing to do for her community here. Back to the snow now. It has not stopped coming down for much of the day. That's made for some slippery streets and it's kept road crews busy, but that didn't stop some locals from enjoying the outdoor weather. And what's more Canadian than hitting the ice?
Well, when it comes to shoveling, I'm happy we only have this much. But you know, the kids love it too. You know, they get out and they enjoy themselves in the snow, and the more snow for them, the better. Zachary, can you say hi? Say hello. Hi.
Oh, we definitely love this weather. Yeah, we love going skating, obviously, and this is his first time being out on the ice. We were just excited to share that with him because we used to love skating too. So, and then just doing sledding as well. So enjoying this winter weather while we have it.
Well, we have it, the key there. I know that there was forecast for Ontario to just get blanketed with snow last week, but it missed Windsor. Coming up, we'll ask Colette if that was just part of the supply chain issues for it to show up today instead of back then. She's got the weather next. We have some exclusive video to show you tonight, something that you will not see anywhere else. Turkeys flying. There's the magical moment where that turkey lands. There's about 9 of these things just out back by the Ignacio Trail. I went out for a walk yesterday afternoon, and you can see these big birds just bounding up there, Colette. They got a little bounce in their step, eh?
Yes, these are not the WKRP in Cincinnati type of turkey.
Well, how's that go? As God is my witness?
These ones can fly.
It was just nice to see. Just some, like about 9 of them out and about. The best part was watching them run because they have and it was just, I think you had to be there. I didn't get that on video, but that little bit there where they were jumping up on top. I wouldn't want to live in that area though, because that's something that might be a little bit annoying there. A little peckage. What we got going on here weather-wise, Colette?
But it's beautiful. Well, I heard you say there was supply chain issues. I was listening. I like that, but I don't think that's what was going on here.
Not what happened, eh?
No, but yeah, the heavy snow last Monday, of course, was to the east, and then you could see some pockets where there was some lake enhancement even in here to southwestern Ontario. So these are the areas where we're seeing more significant accumulations there, over 5 centimeters, between 5 and 10 in some cases there. And they'll continue to be that as this Alberta Clipper keeps moving eastward. So there'll be more lake enhancement. A lot of times, of course, we get the west to northwesterly winds and we get into the snow squalls, and they will pick up additional amounts here as those winds move through. But today there was a lot of enhancement and continues to be along the north shore of Lake Erie and the north shore of Lake Ontario because of a more southerly flow to those winds. So no longer here in the tip of southwestern Ontario in the weather advisory, but the travel advisories carry on. Conditions are not good. Slippery conditions, reduced visibility, not good for travel. Snow squall watches and warnings that are still in play as well. And some of those they'll shift because the winds will shift. So the areas being affected will shift, but there are going to be some there tonight and into tomorrow and even towards tomorrow night. So there's the system as it's tracking through Clipper because it does move relatively quickly. So that's passing away from us. I think we're going to see some clearing overnight tonight. -5, feeling like -11 at the moment. As things clear out, it sets us up for tomorrow for some sunshine at times, but then into the afternoon, some increasing cloudiness and a few spots of getting some of those flurries from the lake effect just kind of making their way in as the winds make a shift. So just be aware of our temperatures tonight dropping to -13, feeling like -17. Tomorrow's daytime high -7, but still a little bit of a wind chill there. But tomorrow night, -17, even perhaps in some cases in southwestern Ontario, closer to -20. So Wednesday morning, Chris, is going to be a very chilly wake up there. The snow will be sticking around if you were going to ask.
I like that. I love that. And the sun tomorrow to play in it. This will be nice. Thanks, Colette.
There you go. You got it.
Up next, we are going to take a updated look at the biggest, most powerful space telescope. The federal government is investigating a cyber attack on the computer systems at Global Affairs Canada. Now, according to a statement, the attack occurred on January 19th. Critical systems are functioning, but some internet systems, they still have not returned to normal. Ottawa is not saying where the attack originated or who might have been responsible. A number of government agencies, they're working on the response. The world's biggest, most powerful space telescope has arrived at its destination, about 1.5 million kilometers from Earth. Now, after a series of intricate and pre-planned steps that unfolded over a month-long journey, the James Webb Space Telescope, seen as a successor to the aging Hubble, is making final preparations to work soon. Jayla Bernstein reports.
On Christmas Day, these scientists watched their life's work launch into space. The James Webb Space Telescope was finally off, but there was still a perilous journey ahead.
I've been describing this as the 14 days of terror, but really it's been 14 days of joy because the whole process went flawlessly.
After launch, there were exactly 344 things that could have gone wrong. One failure and the entire mission would have been disrupted, but it worked. It'll take about 6 months of calibrating and testing before scientific data can finally start flowing back to Earth.
I'm ecstatic. This is such an amazing opportunity.
This Edmonton astronomers' research will use the telescope's ability to see infrared light. Until now, clouds of stellar soot blocked astronomers from getting a good look at the Triangulum galaxy.
We'll see clearer and more detailed pictures, but we'll also get this new view that was inaccessible to Hubble by basically seeing through this material. It's like looking through a fog for the first time.
We don't know what. This Quebec astronomer will be using her time with the telescope to determine whether planets in the TRAPPIST-1 solar system have an atmosphere.
If they do have an atmosphere, then that means there may be a chance to look for traces of life in those atmospheres. We know on Earth we need an atmosphere to live, basically. Okay. So
while she says it's all very exciting, there's a lot of pressure too.
It is very stressful. I have to admit.
No one has ever worked with a telescope like this before. The James Webb will literally look back in time more than 13.5 billion years, all the way back to the first galaxies that formed.
We only have very limited information on this part of the universe because previous telescopes just haven't been able to see there.
This cosmic eye is bound to see things that will alter our very understanding of the universe.
There's going to be a huge number of surprises that come back from this telescope. It really is set up to kind of open discovery space and find things that we weren't expecting to find.
Jayla Bernstein, CBC News, Montreal.
Visitors to a new attraction near Bogota, Colombia are discovering a place that's literally been turned upside down.
¿Y tú qué quieres?
As that house is tipped the wrong way up, capturing the imagination of tourists who walk on ceilings where floors should be, the furniture positioned on the wrong side too. The creator is intrigued by a similar experiment that he saw when he visited his homeland of Austria 6 years ago, but says building it during the pandemic was difficult with setbacks, delays. Finished it early in the new year. It's now providing some light fun for visitors wary of lockdowns and restrictions. I am going to go sit down now, feeling a little woozy myself. That's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. Thanks for watching.